The carnival came not with the roar of a lion, but with the whisper of the wind. It was as if the very air carried secrets, murmuring tales of what was to come. It snaked its way into our lives, unbidden, unwelcome. Like a serpent weaving through the underbrush, it found its way into the heart of our town. It promised escape, offered oblivion. The allure of the unknown was irresistible, a siren call to those seeking a break from the mundane. We, the good people of Havenwood, should have known better. We didn't. The rumours started subtly, like whispers carried on the wind. A travelling show, they said. A spectacle that would leave us breathless, they promised. A spectacle unlike any other. The kind of show that would etch itself into our memories, for better or worse. Tales spun of impossible feats and mesmerizing melodies. Stories that seemed too fantastical to be true, yet too enticing to ignore. The air crackled with anticipation, a strange, nervous energy that settled over Havenwood like a shroud. It was as if the very atmosphere had changed, charged with an electric tension. We were drawn to it, moths to a flickering flame. The pull was magnetic, an invisible force that we couldn't resist. The promise of something new, something dangerous, it pulsed beneath our skin. It was a thrill we hadn't felt in years, a spark in our otherwise dull lives. We ignored the prickling unease, the voice in the back of our minds screaming at us to turn back. The carnival had arrived, and with it, a sense of foreboding that we chose to overlook. And with it, the song and dance man, a figure cloaked in mystery whose presence promised both wonder and dread. The heart of the carnival was a monstrous tent, a cathedral of striped canvas and frayed velvet ropes. It stood like a sentinel, guarding secrets and stories untold, its presence both inviting and foreboding. It loomed at the edge of town, a grotesque monument to our growing fascination. By day it was a curiosity, but by night it transformed into something far more sinister, a beacon for the brave and the foolish alike. The air around it hummed, vibrated with an unseen energy. It was as if the very fabric of reality was thinner here, the boundaries between the known and the unknown blurred. The smell hit you first, a cloying mix of popcorn and sweat, overlaid with something sickly sweet, something akin to decay. It was a scent that promised both delight and danger, a sensory assault that was impossible to ignore. It clung to the back of your throat, a silent warning. Every breath you took was a reminder of the carnival's dual nature, its ability to enchant and repulse in equal measure. People flocked to the tent, their faces a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They came seeking thrills, drawn by the promise of the unknown, their curiosity outweighing their fear. There was a nervous energy in the air, a current of anticipation that crackled between us. It was palpable, a shared emotion that bound us together in our collective quest for the extraordinary. We were all drawn to the mystery, to the promise of something extraordinary. The tent was a siren call, its allure irresistible, its secrets tantalizingly out of reach. None of us knew the price we would pay. The carnival demanded more than just our attention. It required a piece of our very souls, a sacrifice we were all too willing to make in our pursuit of wonder. He stood on a makeshift stage, bathed in the harsh glare of a single spotlight. The light seemed to carve out his figure from the darkness, isolating him from the world around. His eyes, two black pits in a skull-like face, scanned the crowd with an intensity that felt almost supernatural. They seemed to pierce through the very souls of those who dared to meet his gaze. A shiver ran down my spine, an involuntary reaction to the sheer presence of this man. This was the song and dance man, a figure of legend and fear. His suit, a once vibrant purple, was now faded and stained, a ghost of its former self. It told stories of countless performances, each one leaving its mark. It hung loosely on his gaunt frame, emphasizing his skeletal thinness. The suit seemed to be a size too large, adding to his eerie, otherworldly appearance. He moved with a disconcerting fluidity, like a marionette controlled by unseen strings. Each step, each gesture was unnaturally smooth, almost as if he were gliding. His voice, when he spoke, was a rasping whisper, amplified to a booming baritone by some unseen magic. It filled the room, resonating in our chests and echoing in our minds. He spoke of escape, of forgetting one's troubles, of leaving behind the mundane and embracing the extraordinary, of dancing the night away, losing oneself in the rhythm and the music, until the world outside ceased to exist. His words wrapped around us, suffocating in their intensity. They promised release, oblivion, a chance to forget everything and just be. And we, desperate for a moment's respite from our ordinary lives, were eager to believe. We were ready to surrender to the spell he wove, to become part of his grotesque symphony. The music started slowly, a mournful fiddle weaving a tapestry of sound. It seeped into our bones, wormed its way into our souls. It was hypnotic, seductive. We didn't stand a chance. One by one, people began to move, swaying at first, then stepping tentatively onto the dance floor. The song and dance man's grin widened, a grotesque parody of a smile. The tent floor was packed with people, a writhing mass of bodies. The air grew thick with heat and the overwhelming scent of perspiration. Still, the music played on, faster now, more insistent. There was no escaping the rhythm. Section 5. A symphony of unease. The music shifted. No longer a mournful waltz, it became something more primal, more unsettling, a dissonant melody that clawed at the edges of your sanity. I felt a bead of sweat trickle down my spine. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the cacophony of the music. My smile felt strained, plastered on my face. Around me, faces were slick with sweat, eyes glazed over. The dancers moved with a desperate energy, their steps becoming more erratic, more frantic. There was a wrongness to it all, a growing sense of unease that sat heavy in my gut. But still I danced. Section 6. The gnawing fatigue. My legs ached, screamed for respite. My lungs burned with each shallow breath. The music seemed to press down on me, a physical weight that threatened to crush me. I tried to stop, to pull myself away from the swirling mass of bodies, but my feet moved independently, compelled by some unseen force. The music had us in its grip. Around me, others were succumbing to exhaustion. They stumbled, fell, only to be pulled back to their feet by their neighbours. Their eyes, blank and unseeing, stared ahead. The music played on, a relentless torrent of sound that drove us ever onwards. There was no escape. Section 7. A macabre waltz. The first death came as no surprise. A woman, her face contorted in a silent scream, crumpled to the floor. Her heart, pushed beyond its limits, had finally given out. But then the unthinkable happened. Her body twitched, her eyes flickered open, milky white and vacant, and she rose, rejoining the dance as if nothing had happened. The music didn't falter. It seemed to feed off our terror, our exhaustion. It drove us onwards, a macabre puppet master pulling our strings. Death had lost its meaning, its finality. We were trapped in a nightmare, condemned to dance until our bodies gave out, only to rise again and dance some more. Section 8. The relentless rhythm. Hours bled into days, or perhaps it was days into hours. Time had lost all meaning within the stifling confines of the tent. The music continued, an unrelenting assault on our senses. The air hung heavy, thick with the stench of sweat and decay. The floor was littered with the bodies of the fallen, their faces frozen in expressions of agony and ecstasy. My mind, teetering on the brink of madness, clung to the hope of escape. But deep down, I knew the truth. The song and dance man had us. He owned us. We were his puppets dancing to his tune. Section 9. Whispers of madness. Sanity became a flickering candle in the wind. Around me, the other dancers had succumbed to madness. Their laughter echoed through the tent, high-pitched and crazed. I saw things, horrific things, in the flickering gaslight. Faces melting like wax, limbs twisting at unnatural angles. Were they real, or figments of my tortured imagination? The line between reality and nightmare blurred. The music was all-consuming, a siren song that lured us deeper into the abyss. Hope was a distant memory, distant. Section 10. A ghostly silence. And then, just as abruptly as it began, the music stopped. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. The dancers, as if released from a spell, stumbled to a halt. A collective gasp filled the tent. We looked at each other, our faces haggard, our eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and relief. The silence was deafening. The song and dance man was gone. The stage where he once stood was empty, the single spotlight casting an accusing beam into the stunned silence. We were free, but at what cost? Section 11. The lingering shadow. We stumbled out of the tent, blinking in the sunlight. The carnival was gone, vanished without a trace. All that remained was a patch of scorched earth and the echo of our terror. Havenwood was never the same. The memory of that night hung over us, a dark cloud that refused to dissipate. We were the lucky ones, those who had escaped the song and dance man's clutches, but we were forever changed, haunted by the memories, the whispers of madness that lingered at the edge of our minds. The music may have stopped, but the dance went on.